Over 80% of viewers are not subscribed, so make sure to hit that button if you do enjoy the content. The Boeing 757 was introduced in the early 1980s and remains an aircraft that was developed with the sole intent of filling specific niches within our industry. Boeing aimed to offer an aircraft that could efficiently serve medium-haul routes. The success of the 757s can be attributed to its versatility and, in its time, efficiency, and also the ability to operate from a host of different airports. With the Boeing 757, the plane maker identified a gap in the market for an aircraft with the capacity to carry, yes, a significant number of passengers, but over medium distances, and this wasn't in the form of your early 737 designs, or say the extra-large 747. The 757 was that solution, and coming equipped with only two engines, the hope was that it would stick the landing, and you could say now that it definitely did. The success of the 757 can be attributed to several key factors, including, but really shouldn't be limited to, the advanced technology it saw right across the board at the time. However, as I've touched on for airlines generally, it just was an ideal plane that, even now with some customers, is proving to still be reliable, but most importantly, irreplaceable. The 757's commonality with the 767 in sharing a cockpit and systems provided additional benefits to the airlines that decided to operate both of these aircraft types, a move that was very visible with some of your biggest airlines in the United States. However, as the aviation industry evolved, the Boeing 757 aged and new pieces of tech entered the space. Additionally, customers' needs for aircraft were adjusted, and the place of the 757 began to be questioned. The true definition of a circle of life, perhaps. The development of the 737NG, next generation series, really further narrowed the gap that the 757 had once filled, as Boeing continued to develop their iconic narrowbody. This inherently isn't bad, considering this is being done by Boeing rather than a competitor, but these newer models benefiting from advancements in engine technology and aerodynamics could fly longer distance and accommodate a similar passenger capacity. Even if less, they were better for airlines than the existing 757. That's not to say that the 737 was intended as a replacement, but an airline might look to the 737 and say a different, more next-generation type for these medium to long-haul routes. In addition to the 737's advancements, Boeing's focus on developing other new aircraft resulted in the 757's future being questioned. The Dreamliner introduced a new era of long-haul travel, offering airlines improved fuel efficiency, better passenger comfort, and increased range, all of which were at a fraction of the costs associated with some of your previous generation planes. Was again the 787 intended to be the 757 replacement? No, but in a similar fashion to the 737NG, it did present the question on whether it was worth the upgrade for airlines. These companies began to favour these other planes instead of the niche that, say, the 757 filled. Boeing eventually discontinued the 757 production, which many said was influenced by some of the decisions touched on in the early 2000s. However, ultimately, a last push and failed new variant would slam the nail on the head for the program. While the 757 is no longer in production, the aviation community has persistent desires for its return or a modern equivalent, say in a MAX or X form. Many airlines and industry experts recognize the unique capabilities of the 757, which is why it is so loved. Interestingly, most, including myself to a certain degree, argue that these calls for a return to the 757 in some capacity predominantly come following Boeing now in the 2020s not really offering a genuine replacement to this plane. Yes, we know that the 737 MAX was eventually developed and was an enhanced 737NG. However, while these planes can definitely do a job for several airlines, they still weren't a like-for-like replacement. And yes, the 787 exists. This just didn't do the ideal job for some. Over at European plane maker Airbus, their development of an A321 series can also be viewed as an adequate replacement to the 757. But again, I go back to what I said only 30 seconds ago. This works for some companies, but for others, it will not be viewed as a like-for-like replacement, especially for those that have been waiting out on the American plane maker to release a true replacement. Now we know that's not coming, so they do have to question these other options. The predominant carrier I use is Delta in this example, who do still fly the 757 and quite extensively, and don't have plans to retire it for some time. They are in a position per sources that no matter what aircraft they order, they'll never be able to adequately replicate what the 757 has done for them. And while some may say that this is just one airline and they should suck it up and move on, it's still a very valid feeling for such an important operator of the 757, especially when it can also be felt, you'd argue, at United Airlines, who are maybe just a little bit further in the moving on process. So yes, in summary, Boeing ended production on the 757 for several key reasons. However, equally, there would be many people that would argue now in the 2020s that there is a room for a plane of a similar nature. And given Boeing openly expressing its lack of a desire to move forward with a clean sheet until the 2030s, they believe that a 757X of sorts, using new technology and coming with lower development costs, could be the perfect solution and act as a short-term gap. However, as I did cover in a video, I believe towards the end of last year, there are many problems associated with bringing back a 757 that would ultimately not make it worth it. And I think one of the biggest overarching things to consider is that Boeing just missed the boat in the middle of the market sector. No matter what they do now, any new plane that will enter service is going to be many, many, many years away. And at that point, what will be the fate of future technology? Could Boeing now wait until the 2030s and offer something truly revolutionary? Well, this is what they believe is the best bet and why they aren't moving forward with such a plane until the 2030s, per latest comments at least from their executive. But that's the 757, the little pocket rocket that could, and why production ceased. It is still a fantastic aircraft that serves a purpose with many airlines around the world, and while its numbers are dwindling, it will have an everlasting impact on the industry. Maybe nostalgia sometimes does fuel the desire for a new iteration, but in this case, you could make the argument that Boeing just hasn't replaced the 757, and it may be some time before it truly does. However, I think ultimately all this speaks volumes about what the kind of aircraft the 757 is. You can let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Do you believe the 757 has cemented itself as an iconic aircraft? I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments, and thank you so dearly for your support here on GlobeTrotting. If you do enjoy the content and would like to see future analysis, be sure to subscribe to the channel and maybe hit that like button too. These are pre-recorded videos. In fact, I'm recording this in December of 2023 as I'm currently traveling, and I do have some great content on the way, so make sure you are indeed staying tuned. Please take care, do also be safe, and I'll see you next time.